everybody, Raven fans, Oriole fans. Thank you for joining me this week on the Ravery Sports Podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast for fans like me. Thank you very much for joining us this week. Like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. You're watching us, so thank you for watching us tonight on the YouTube channel, on the Twitch channel, on our Facebook page, and on our Twitter page, or X, as it's called nowadays, whatever Elon Musk changed it to in the last couple of days. Thank you very much for joining us today as well. So let's go a couple business items as well. Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com. So definitely, if you want to book a site with my notary business, you can go on our Facebook page, Genesis Notary Services at Facebook.com. You can book a session right on the website, right there on our page. So definitely, you can absolutely do that as well. If you want to buy our merchandise, it's at ravorisports.company.site. So we're going to go ahead. You could go right on the website. Definitely got some. I'm going to get some Maryland merchandise on there. We definitely got our hats or jerseys and things. You can go right on the website and get it on the website. Or you can email me at ravorisports@gmail.com. Now, fortunately, bad news with the Ravery Sports Tour. Unfortunately, I had to move some dates back. I was not able to go Saturday. So August 26th is going to be the first date. So I decided instead of just doing random, let's just push it back here. So the beginning now is going to be August 26th at the Shen Valley Flea Market. That'll be August 26th in a few weeks. So that'll be the first date there like that. We're going to go ahead and really re-release those new dates here next week, sometime this week. Look, keep in mind, look at our Facebook page, social media pages this week as we release new dates. Unfortunately, we had to move those dates. So we'll go ahead. August 26th for sure will be definitely the first date. Thank you for your patience. All right, we got a lot to talk about this week for sure. Let's start like we always start with a little Ravens football, the training camp report. This is the second one. So we have another week of camp here that is passed for the Ravens. So as we see now we're out of this week of the camp. We're out of what we call the beginning stages of it. So training camp, you have your beginning, you have where you kind of feeling each other out, you're kind of not hitting it, you're kind of not having that intensity. Now that intensity is ramped up. Now you're seeing that competitive really fire go in. Now you're starting, I always say this week now you're getting answers to some of these questions. Now it's just if guys aren't practicing or something like that's a bigger deal. Maybe you kind of ease them in or whatever. There was an injury or something like that. You're just kind of waiting. Now you're getting, as we get closer to the season, a little bit more game mode. All right. Training camp day 9. So this was the end of last week. Big talk about this. So the defense, the offense rather, had 9 INTs. Okay, Lamar himself had 4 interceptions. Now there are differing opinions on this. I can't ever remember hearing about a practice where Lamar had 4 interceptions. I think he's only actually had 1 game in his whole career. A couple years ago against Cleveland, where he had 4 picks in 1 game. So it's very rare, even in practice. I think that's not good. Also, from the crane pass and everything, I saw this was like a 3rd and 9 drill they were running. So, you're not going to get a lot of TDs on the 3rd and 9 drill. To me, that's still a little high. Honestly, I think at 3rd and 9, throwing a ball away. But I think that's a little bit of a concern because you had 9. Everybody's focusing on Lamar. Lamar will be fine, I think, for the most part. The backup quarterbacks have not looked great all camp. Tyler Huntley and Anthony Brown, I don't know. I think they may make a change there. We'll see. how that goes. Anthony Brown again this week I heard about Tyler Huntley not looking so great in the camp, not looking so great as well with the new offense with Todd Monken. So we're still hearing that as well with the Ravens offense. We're still hearing that there are some issues there with the backup quarterbacks. That's a concern. Um, the next day they came out from when I heard offense was good. Offense moved the ball some, moved the ball a lot of long passes. So that's good. A little bit of a concern though. We have that many. Still no Tyus Bowser yet. Andrew Voorhees, I think, is still on the NFI list because he got injured in college, not played at all in camp. I don't expect Voorhees at all this year. Tyus Bowser came to camp in a boot, from what I understand, and not hurt. So we don't know yet as far as that goes, as far as when we're going to see Bowser on the field. A couple other notes here. Jadeveon Clowney, former first overall pick. Put that back on the screen. There you go, right? Hopefully I'm saying his name right. Jadeveon Clowney, first overall pick. I think various teams played with Cleveland last year, did visit the Baltimore Ravens on Tuesday. So he is going to come in and take a look, and they are going to take a look at him. Visit doesn't mean as much as it once did. Used to be in the old days, visits, if a guy came in to visit, they were going to go ahead and get a contract. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean as much. Probably they just want to meet him, check him out, things like that. Almost nowadays with visits, sometimes it means, they're having a second thought or whatever. They just want to go ahead and take a look at a guy, see how it works out with that player. But they did come in and do a visit with him. So that's important that they went ahead and they took a look at that guy. Justin Houston, they brought Clowney in. I was looking for the Justin Houston thing while I was doing it. Justin Houston did sign with Carolina as well. So that's official. So Justin Houston is officially now a member of the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to Justin for signing. Surprise, no interest in Justin Houston. I think that's a little strange that you have a guy with his ability that they didn't sign. Think that's a little strange that they didn't go ahead and sign Justin Houston to a camp. He went ahead and signed basically Chuck Smith, who's the coach, who's coaching the Ravens at that position now. David Ojabo and Daffy Owe basically have been endorsed. He says he seems fully confident in these guys. These are going to be your starters. So it's going to be David Ojabo and Daffy Owe going ahead starting. They have looked good in camp so far. Chuck Smith was very complimentary of these guys. They really weren't that interested in Justin Houston. I haven't heard anything on Pierre Paul. They may bring in Clowney, I think, in part because of the Bower injury, and they may need an extra body. But these are your starters, so you can go ahead and pencil them in. Again, right now, we're gonna do a 53 prediction right before the season starts. But I think this says a lot, considering the fact that they have gone ahead and not going after any starters as far as pass rush. This is the guy. These are going to be your guys. Switching back to offense, a couple things. JK is still holding out, allegedly. Harbaugh, again, Coach John Harbaugh said he is going to be back at practice soon, whatever that is. So John Harbaugh is going to go ahead and soon say he is going to be back at practice. John Harbaugh has said JK will be back. I think JK will be back. I don't think he's going to sit out the whole season. If he showed up at the facility, he's working at the facility, I'm sure he's mad about his contract. But I think JK will be back in a Ravens uniform on the field pretty soon. That's probably very vague. It's not specific. I wouldn't expect John Harbaugh to give specifics before the season starts. I think it's JK. I think the last week of the preseason game or something like that, that's probably, I don't know that, but if I had to guess, at that point, if you're going to play the season, that's when you need to start practicing if you're going to plan on playing at all. Project Pat was injured. Pat Ricard, Pro Bowl fullback. He's been working at offensive line. This is not good. Well, I don't mean not good for him as far as his ability to play the offensive. I have no idea. This guy was a D tackle. He's a 300-pound fullback. So if anybody can play offensive line, Patrick Carr can. Fullback is almost even a version of that in some sense. This tells me though that they're not going to play any fullback. So they may pick up another. What they may be doing is they want to pick up another tight end and not play Pat Ricard. Heard some good things about Ben Mason as well. It seems as if they're trying to move away from him a bit. That's kind of there's not this great big endorsement. There's not this great big. I haven't heard any of that. They're kind of going ahead and wanting to move on. It seems like that's the vibe I kind of get. Playing him in offensive line, playing him. All the stuff you're hearing kind of points to they're not going to have a traditional fullback. They're not going to use Ricard in that role. I personally like having a fullback there. I think some of the problems teams have blocking up front is like they don't have a lead back, but teams don't run the ball as much, don't try and run the ball as much. So having that is a thing. Interesting to see what happens with Ricard. I think possibly he could be on his way out. Unfortunately, for a great Pro Bowl guy with the Ravens. Keon Mitchell came into camp getting a lot of hype for undrafted rookie. I did not know this, but it looks like he had a prolific college career at East Carolina, and his father was Anthony Mitchell, former Ravens player, special teamer. Interesting that was. I remember Anthony Mitchell was supposed to start as a veteran next to Ed Reed his rookie year, and he got beat out by Will Demps. But he remained with the team, I think, in special teams. So Keon Mitchell, like the Ravens have had a history of signing a lot of undrafted free agents. So this is a guy you're looking at. And he's had a chance to get some reps without JK in the lineup. So I don't know if he plays as far as in the sub package, but special teams, everything like that, definitely that's a possibility for him. This also could be another thing, and we just mentioned Ricard. The reason I mentioned this after Pat Ricard, that could be something else that could be possibly hurting his roster. You get a guy like a Keon Mitchell, maybe you play him at a little bit of fullback if you're going to use a little bit of fullback, play him on special teams, etc. Maybe looking for some more versatility there as well. This just happened today. If you're watching this on Wednesday, that we're recording, Rashard Bateman returned to practice. He looked good by all points. I think they've waited a while to keep him out. Good. Again, with players and injuries, watch the dress rehearsal week of the season. I think that is next week. You're going to have your first preseason game. You're going to have the second one. That third week, that's the week where you really want to see where they start to move more into regular season mode right after camp. And guys are hurt or whatever, can't go. That is absolutely a thing to go ahead, and that's absolutely a thing that the Ravens have to, when you watch a player, rather, you absolutely want to take a look at that, okay? If they're just resting or something like that, they may not practice this day or that day, but that week of the dress rehearsal, the week of the game, huge. Couple things on defense. Arthur Mallett, Trent Simpson out with injuries. All we could get on Trent Simpson, it was a soft tissue injury, so he hasn't practiced much. Arthur Mallett, late free agent addition, played last year. Pittsburgh has been out with injuries, still not on the field as of today. So I think that's a thing. Trent Simpson, I don't think it's much of a competition as far as him going against Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen's going to start. Patrick Queen, it looks like they're keeping him. Doesn't look like they're phasing him out or anything like that. Unless some monster deal comes along, Trent Simpson is going to be on the second team this year. Segue, second team. Michael Pierce still running with the first team. I think I kind of mentioned how much I like Travis Jones. John Harbaugh and a lot of guys have been very complimentary of Michael Pierce so far in camp. He's still running with the first team. Travis Jones has been running the second team. Off defensive line has been very good as a whole. Offensive line has struggled a bit, although they are starting to come around as we go along in camp. Two of the stars are Marcus Williams and Colin Hamilton. They've been fantastic. I don't think I've heard everybody say great things about Kyle Hamilton so far in camp. Interesting to see, though, I would say, I think I said this last week about these guys. Kyle Hamilton, how much I think is the corners, Rocky Sin, Mallet, and the injuries, I think they may try on the corner. I think that may happen. I haven't heard that at all, but I think it's not impossible. They go ahead and try Rocky Sin. Kyle Hamilton and corner because he's so versatile and he's a solid player. Maybe like do a little bit more Geno Stone, Brandon Williams as safety, and then move him over. Because I absolutely believe he has that type of ability. That's just pure speculation. It's nothing I've heard in camp. All right, so we got it. The Ravens week of camp there. We'll go ahead like this. We got one more of these next week, and then we are gonna do the 53-man roster prediction. So we're gonna predict the 53-man roster for the Ravens as we go forward and getting that squared away as well. All right. So we've been doing our top 10 lists here. What we're going to do is we're going to do defensive line, defensive tackle, defensive end, defensive tackle. Oh, and by the way, I'm calling it defensive line. Looks like everybody else in the world is calling edge rush. On this list is going to be guys right now that are playing 4-3, basically defensive end. Okay. I don't always consider that the same thing. Everybody else seems to want to do that, but because the game is changing a bit, that's absolutely true. But I can tell you, Hassan Reddick is not the same as Myles Garrett. They're not playing the same position. That's the best contrast. Hassan Reddick is strictly a speed outside guy. Myles Garrett is a hand in the ground type guy. Some of these guys, there has been some intermingling with what they do depending on where they see in different teams. But some guys you'll see on this list and you won't see. This is strictly 4-3 end. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. Number 10. This is nod to more his run skill. On the 4-3 again, 4-3 end. DeMarcus Lawrence. Very, very good still running as a rush end. I think he obviously has Micah Parsons on his team, and he has a lot of help on the other side there. I think when you have a DeMarcus, one of the reasons I like the Cowboys is you have DeMarcus Lawrence, you have Tavon Diggs, and you have Micah Parsons. You can win with that. I think this is a good combination. I think as a run end, I think he's still very good. He's the one on the list here for the run end. Pass rushes, most bound. Josh Sweat of the Eagles. Eagles had the best pass rush, I think, one of the ones I've ever seen. They had at least 4 or 5 guys with 11 more sacks. This was one. Josh Sweat, outstanding rush in on one side. He was outstanding young guy for them. One of the guys is going to get a lot of money in his next contract. The guy who's playing on the other side, a vet, Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham's been there at least 10 years. He got drafted under Andy Reid. Been underrated his whole career. Brandon Graham has been in a lot of iterations of the Eagle defense, one of their captains, one of the leaders. Not a huge guy, okay? Doesn't have that strength that like a Myles Garrett has or Reggie White, but man, really quick. Very impressed with the career that Brandon Graham has had. One of our former guys, Za'Darius Smith, now with the Cleveland Browns. He's going to be playing in Cleveland this year. A guy kind of worked his way. Za'Darius was a 5th round pick. kind of worked his way, was on the bench a couple of years, got his chance to play, got multiple sacks, got a big contract in Green Bay, played last year with Minnesota, been productive wherever he's been. Now he's going to be full-time defensive end in Cleveland. I think this is absolutely an upgrade over Jajavian Clowney, and he's definitely one of the best defensive 4-3 ends in the league. Aiden Hutchinson, 9.5 sacks last year. Sky's the limit. I think that's going to be the only year where you see this guy not get double-digit sacks. Aiden Hutchinson, I think, get better double team. That's the thing with Aiden Hutchinson. I think the sack total didn't reflect, I think, the future production. I think he's only going to get better and better. So dominant in Michigan for so many years. So dominant as a college player. Outstanding. Aiden Hutchinson, I think, one of the building blocks. Trey Hendrickson. I see a lot of motor. I don't think last season was his best season, but the guy has a next gear and energy to him that I really like. Hendrickson, when he played at New Orleans, I'm surprised there weren't more teams clamoring to get him, considering what he's done. I think you see the cast of that injury last year. I absolutely believe this guy bounces back, and a very good group of ends that the Bengals have. I think Trey Anderson is one. There's another guy, even more underrated, Max Crosby. You talk about motor with a Trey Hendrickson, it absolutely applies to Max Crosby. Never stops moving, never stops pushing, never stops. It's fascinating to watch him play in that next gear all the time. You see him with that rated uniform. I see a lot of the old Allow Alzado. Some of you may not even know that name, young fans. But a guy, just a madman over there. That's what I see with Max Crosby. A guy, just a guy plays with a lot of reckless abandon. That's the name right. Max Crosby, outstanding. Von Miller, everybody forgot. Von Miller was fabulous before the Bills, for the Bills last year with the injury. I think they're kind of easing him back. I have no doubt that this guy is still 11, 12, 13 sacks. Very good for the Bills defense. I think he's going to be their main pass rusher again. A little bit worried about his age. This is why he's not higher. But Von Miller showed everybody last year. He's still got a lot left in the tank. Outstanding. Myles Garrett at number 2. Power rush here. He's got to speed rush, obviously, like that, but he's just strong. I see him with his speed. He kind of pushes people over all the time. He's got a lot of strength. Very good ability, Myles Garrett. I think a lot of people probably would be surprised he's not one, and I got no problem with anyone that says he's number 1. But he's an outstanding rush end, I think. Different type of, this is again 4-3 end. That's what this guy is. Definitely you put him in this type defense. He's absolutely that combination they're gonna have with Zadarius and Myles Garrett doesn't make me happy. That's a Raven fan. Outstanding. And number 1, Nick Bosa. Oh my goodness, how good is the Bosa family? Only injury stopped this guy. I mean, I think the only argument against Nick Bosa is how good the rest of his defense is around it. You know, Fred Warner is outstanding. All the other guys that they have on their defense, outstanding. That's the only thing with Nick Bosa that's the complaint. But this guy, yeah, double teams don't even work with Nick Bosa. Double teams don't work with Nick Bosa at all. And he's a pure, I think, more of a hand in the ground lineman than I think Joey Bosa or a lot of those guys got. So Nick Bosa, I think, is outstanding talent. Number 1, I think close to Garrett, but I'm gonna take, if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to pick Nick Bosa. Absolutely. So there you go. There is your defensive end list. Let's go to our defensive tackle list. All right. So the top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL. Again, now in this list, when you talk about defensive tackles, what we want to do here is may a little bit kind of include the 3-4 ends. Sometimes it's tough to tell as far as that goes. The guys that if a team is playing 3-4 and a guy's playing the end, that's more of a tackle. That's more of a tackle. So that's kind of you may have a couple, one or two of those guys on the list. I will kind of go ahead and count them as a defensive tackle as far as that goes. But on that list, this is the top list in the NFL as far as who are the guys number as far as defensive tackle in the league. So let's go to our top 10 list. Number 10, Cam Hayward for the Steelers. Some people were surprised maybe he's not higher. I think it's a little slippage. A couple years ago, I think this guy was top 3, top 4. I think with the injuries and everything, he's getting a little older. I will put him down here about 10. I think he's still in the top 10 though. I think he's definitely a guy that you have to contend with. Better put 2 guys on him. Very talented guy. I think he should have about 8 or 9 sacks. I think that definitely puts him in the top 10 as far as defensive tackles. Christian Wilkins. This is a nod to the ranking. This guy is an outstanding run stopper. So defensive tackle, one thing also too on the top, I want to look at a guy, can he stop the run? So yes, they still run the ball. The NFL, it does exist. And you want a guy like a Christian Wilkins who is an excellent run stopper. So if you look at all the run stopping totals, everything, the PFF stats and the ESPN stats, that Christian Wilkins definitely deserves in the top 10 as far as that goes. Definitely also here, the Dexter Lawrence of the Giants. So definitely working with Wink Martindale's defense. Perfect guy. I see Brandon Williams all over this guy, Dexter Lawrence. I think he's going to have a little bit more pass rush than Brandon, but a big, huge nose guard. Definitely like that. So with all the blitzing and everything that the Giants like to do, this guy here you can put in the middle to go ahead and swarm with all that blitzing so your outside guys can go and you have Dexter Lawrence. And number 8, no question about it, the outstanding Commanders defensive tackles. This guy, Doc Walker, described him as a Rolls Royce, Jonathan Allen, 5'3". He's outstanding. I think this guy could play anywhere on the line that he wanted. He could play outside and get 10 sacks. He could play inside. I don't think he's a nose pure, probably a guy that you wouldn't want to put like in the like a 3-4 nose, but like he's more of a 4-3 technique guy. And he's outstanding. I think Jonathan Allen, I think, is definitely top 7 in the NFL. Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans is an up-and-comer for the Titans as well. I think he's probably the best defensive player. Mike Vrabel's lucky to have this guy. This guy is absolutely a guy that I like his technical ability. I think sometimes it's underrated at D tackle. I like where he always puts his hands. He always needs to have his hands in the right spot. Always able to put guys. I like a Jeffrey Simmons, the way he goes as far as his hands. I think that helps him win battles and things like that. Sometimes defensive linemen kind of rely more on the athleticism and offensive linemen rely on the hands. But Jeffrey Simmons, I like the way his hands are. Here's a guy, yes, Jonathan Hargrave. Eagles pictured there, played for the Eagles last year with the 49ers. This isn't even fair. How do you have a guy this good going from an outstanding defense to another outstanding? So you're going to have Nick Bosa on the outside. You got Fred Warner behind him. And then you got a guy top 10. Here's a guy started with the Steelers. It's a fantastic guy. Again, more of a pure 3 technique, but he's going to get you a lot of sacks. No way he gets double teamed, too. That's another thing to like going where he's going. Is that getting a little older in age, not 20. I don't know exactly. I think he's in his 30s. We're getting close to 30. He's not 30 already. But that's the only concern with Hargrave. Daron Payne is fantastic as well. Man, you got really 2 good. This is probably the strength of their team. No question about it. When you got Daron Payne of the Commanders at number 4 for Washington, whatever they decide to call themselves. But they have 2 excellent defensive tackles here. This is more the close. I don't know if he's a pure nose tackle either. He's closer to it than Allen. Where Allen is more the pass rusher pure. This guy is all around more all around pure. I think in general. I think I got no problem with him in either position. Deron Payne at the commander. Quentin Wilkins just couldn't win. East from State. Williams rather just got paid huge contract extension for the Jets. No question about it. One of their young core on defense, outstanding. The way he's played for them. So there isn't any question about it. If this guy is a top 3 defensive, I don't think there's any question about it. Quentin Williams. Outstanding. Any team would assign him the big money. He's been fantastic. Future here. Yes, number 2, Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald has been just so dominant for so long. 3 guys just didn't work on Aaron Donald. 3 guys, it just wouldn't get it. I mean, I've seen Aaron Donald in games where you could triple team him, and he still caught credit. I think he is a little bit older now. I don't think he's in the number 1 position, but he's still really awesome. I think definitely he's their best defensive player. He has talked retirement. We'll see how motivated he is. His team isn't as good now. That's the thing. But Aaron, there's no question. I mean, you have to be losing your mind to think Aaron Donald is not top 2. No longer number 1. Chris Jones, number 1 defensive tackle in the league. Look, the Chiefs, the Chefs last year, they had a lot of upheaval on defense. You know why it worked? Because they had Chris Jones. Because he was just all in the backfield all the time. Didn't matter what you did to Chris Jones. Didn't matter what it is. I don't know if he's the best defensive player in the league, but he's tackled's not close. I think if he's not the best defensive line, he could still get 15, 16 sacks at any position on the line. You can put him at any position on the line. He's going to just destroy people, and that's what he's been doing. Number 1, Chris Jones, the defensive tackle in the NFL. So definitely we'll go ahead and take a look at that as well. So those are defensive line weeks. Next week, we're going to look at those outside linebackers and inside linebackers as we go through the rest of the list. We got safeties left, corners left, or whatever. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that as well. And I think we're going to do coaches as well. I think we're going to do a top 10 for coaches before the season actually starts here for real. All right. Let's get to it. Oh, man. Oriole fans ready for there's a term in television and media and things like that. You ever hear a show, you watch a TV show, and the broadcaster says it's almost planned. I don't know where to start. That's 1,000% what this is. This is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to start. So I think I'm going to begin at the beginning. Because there's been so much said out here about this. Let me begin at the beginning. So a couple years ago, the Orioles, in cost-cutting measure of the network, which is understandable, they went ahead and they got rid of their main guy, Gary Thorne, and they brought in some new announcers to come in. So they basically brought in a new group of announcers. They had Scott Garceau, I think, do it for a year. I think he's still on radio. Jeff Arnold, I've seen. I think he was the recent game. Brett Hollander. I don't think he worked for WBAL anymore. I think he's one of their announcers as well. And Kevin Brown came in, and I think he's also doing one of our announcers. Kevin Brown, I think, is an A+. Much better than I thought he was. I was kind of like the least excited about him, but I think he's an excellent top shelf guy as far as an announcer. Being good as an announcer, I'm not going to go too far left on that, but being good as an announcer, a local announcer to me in baseball, is much harder than being a national announcer. If you're a national announcer, you can just be good and it'll work, right? Um, but a local announcer, different locales, et cetera, you may not resonate with. Kevin Brown has been phenomenal. I think, considering the circumstances around him, I think Kevin Brown is really, really good. Uh, but Kevin Brown is going ahead and he's been in there with Jim Palmer, Ben McDonald, etc. I think he's a good announcer. So apparently, he's been suspended by massive Mid Atlantic Sports Network, owned by the Orioles, owned by the Baltimore Orioles, has the rights to the Nationals and the Orioles as well. So I saw this on Twitter, and I understand people. There's still people that are saying that this is not true. I understand people saying that because I kind of thought this was a joke or a meme or what, because this couldn't possibly be right. Announcers get suspended all the time, and the broadcasters getting suspended all the time. I do understand that as well. So I absolutely get that as well. So when people say that they don't believe it, that's absolutely true. I understand that. I did look at a couple websites that I usually look at. I look at Front Office Sports is where I first saw it, and Awful Announcing. Awful Announcing. I've been reading Awful Announcing for 10 years. They're really locked into. I think their name is kind of dumb, but they're really locked into sports media and everything that goes on. So they're putting it out there. Then everybody else jumped on it. Then the Baltimore Banner put in a call apparently to the Orioles. They're telling them, well, we can't comment on it, but he'll be back soon. Now, national media has jumped on it. Rich Eisen talked about it. Dan Patrick talked about it. Just like Al Michaels talked about it. A lot of guys talked about it. Michael Kay, it's been all over because the guy basically was suspended for reading a graphic to open the broadcast. And it was somewhat critical of. I'm not going to go over it because I don't think that part matters, honestly, because that is basically critical of how the Orioles have done in recent years in Tampa. They've struggled in Tampa, which is 100% true. And they're doing better this year. They're doing better this year. Obviously, in a lot of ways, they're in first place. Makes a lot of sense. It's so wrong. I don't even know. Here's the craziness of that. This podcast and a lot of podcasts, radio, etc. I come in from the muscle. I'm saying what I want to say. I don't have producers. I don't have a lot of other people. I'm saying what I feel like saying. I'm saying. So if somebody's mad at what I'm saying, it's perfectly understandable that I'm the one responsible on camera taking responsibility. Television, for those of you fans that don't know, isn't the case. Television, you have producers, you have bosses, you have all these other things. He probably was reading, from what I understand, he was reading it from a media packet put out by Masson. So they were mad at him for reading something that was a media packet put out by Masson, which John Angelos owns, by the way. So his own team put out something, and the announcer he hired, he fired. Well, he's not fired. I don't know, say that correct. And for the record, I use the word suspended. They have not used the word suspended. He has been taken off air, which is akin to a suspension. If that's so, I'm comfortable saying the word suspended because he's definitely been taken off air. It's beyond the pale. It's beyond the pale. I'm struggling for it. Let me use this example. Let me just stay with me for a second. I don't want to go too far off, but I have a family member that is about the age of John Angelos. And he kind of reminds me of that. Let's just call this family member John. We'll just give him the same name as John. And John kind of has the same problem that John Angelos has. John is a guy that has this arrogance of ignorance that is beyond the pale. You own a TV network and you don't know this. That he's just reading something that a production team put together. You've owned this network for all these years. So you're mad at the guy that you hired to read something on the team that you like because you heard something that you didn't like on your network that you own for people that are working for you, telling you what to do. That you're supposed to be telling what to do on the network that you're supposed to be running and operating. That's that's beyond crazy. That that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. There's everybody's brought up all the other stuff. There's no lease signed by the Orioles. I brought that. I talked about that. There's no lease signed by the Orioles at all. There's still it said All-Star break. We're here in August. There's no lease. You suspended Kevin Brown. You fired in the past. You fired the PA announcer for tweets. Some of you older fans don't even know. Some of you younger fans, I saw like, who's John Miller? John Miller is the broadcaster for the San Francisco Giants. Worked here for several years as an Orioles announcer. He was fired by Peter Angelos for saying things in the Yankees game in a Yankees broadcast too complimentary when the Orioles lost. So you mad at the announcer? I mean, it's on and on and on. And John, I'm talking about the one that I know, kind of has this arrogance of ignorance that people have. And they have it when there's no consequences. John Angelo's life and John's life is not going to be changed by this. He's going to mess everything up and he's going to be fine. He's going to eat that same restaurant. Yeah, there's going to be some people hissing or upset over it, but his life will basically be changed. There's no reason to change anything. There's no reason to do anything. We're going to suspend our top announcer that we hired for reading a graphic because I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm not going to get better at it. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to do anything different. I'm going to suspend this guy for doing this. I mean, there was so many announcers came out this podcast that said that they were banned or they were punished or they're not allowed in or they because they. I mean, this is. I mean, I cannot believe this is what we're talking about. I mean, and we're going to do baseball summer here in a second. We're going to talk about we're going to do an Orioles report, and we're going to talk about the Florida complex. But I'm like, it's just the fact that we're talking about this. What we got the Astros in town, we got to waste time talking about this silliness is crazy, and it's disheartening as a fan of the team, somebody who's built a business on the team on fandom. It's sad. It's truly sad that John Angelos can't get this right after all this time as an Orioles owner. He can't get this right. This family is still doing this, and we're still dealing with this stuff. Firing announcers. Free Kevin Brown was everywhere in the stadium last night. It was ridiculous, and this whole thing is ridiculous, and it's sad. It's sad that the Oriole fans have to put up with this. It's sad that reporters and people that work for the team, shout out Rock, School of Rock, and a lot of teams that they can't say anything. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous that we're focusing on somebody here that's running a team that obviously has no clue of what's going on, and nothing can be done about it. And I'm sorry, fans, that we even have to talk about that foolishness that the guy was just beyond the pale. Ridiculous. Let's get to baseball here. I did want to talk about this. We've been doing our baseball summer. It's almost over. So we got one more here after this. We're going to talk about the Little League World Series. But this week, I did want to talk about the FCL Orioles, Florida Complex League. So what is that? So teams have different levels of baseball, obviously, in the minor league. So you have AAA, AA, high A, low A, and rookie ball. Rookie ball is for players that are literally rookie, just starting. Okay, so those are guys that are coming just fresh in the league, that are starting as players for the first time as MLB players, as starting their careers, looking to become MLB players. So definitely what we're looking at here are guys that are going to become MLB players here. So let's go over a couple of things here. We have to waste time talking about that food. Florida Complex. It's a rookie league ball of the Baltimore Orioles. They compete in the Florida Complex League of the minor league baseball. Before 2021, the league was known as the Gulf Coast League. So basically, with the minor league facility, Orioles have been there in Sarasota since 1991 in the Twin Lakes Park, um, at the 1991 in Sarasota, Florida, at the Buck O'Neill Complex in Twin Lakes Park. They've been there since 91. I actually remember when the Orioles used to play in Miami years ago. Before 1990, they actually used to play in the old Miami Stadium, a little small minor league stadium in Miami, and they moved to Sarasota. It was a bigger facility, and also to there it was a closer facility. Miami was a little further away. So what teams do now is they use their minor league facilities year round, and they actually play there year round. They play in Dominican League. There's a Dominican League. I think the Orioles have two Dominican League. Dominican League team is called DSL team. We're not talking about that Dominican League, but that was focused on Dominican players. But this is what the Orioles do as far as that goes. So they send their rookie players to guys, also to the instructional league as well. DL Hall, probably the most famous name, having struggles with AAA. They send them to Florida. They kind of get straightened out. Because it's a bigger facility and they can work there year round, etc. So, FCL Orioles manager Christian Fracas, they were pronouncing that. Fries, he was 3 years in the Blue Jays minor league system. He goes ahead and he played there. He was a college coach, and now he's coaching there as well. And at the top, let's take a look here at the two draft picks. Enrique Bradfield, center fielder. For them, he is already on the roster. If you go ahead and look it up. Max Horath, they were batting 1 and 2 in the lineup the last I looked at it. Now, they haven't been in that long. I didn't put stats. I think they've had less than 20 at bats. Good start, though. They're actually batting at the top of the order, which is very important. A lot of now these guys, the rest of the list, a lot of these guys from the Dominican Republic. Thomas Sosa, 18 years old, 3 home runs, 22 RBIs, 276 average. Braylon Tavera, also from the Dominican Republic, 4 home runs, 270 average. Edwin Amparo, from the Dominicans, 18 years old. He's got 10 RBIs. Angeles Morden, 6 home runs, 19 RBIs, 287. And Happy Fracas, I don't know if he's any relation to the manager, but he is 1 and 4. He's 22 years old, 6.8 ERA, fresh from the college ranks, Dominican Republic. A lot of these guys are now part of the Orioles, now more robust international signing players. So the Orioles really didn't participate in international scouting. They are absolutely doing it now. Definitely a lot of players from the Dominican Republic in the Orioles roster. The next move for some of these guys is to go to Eloy Del Marva. If you're sticking out enough, I think you may go to Frederick. Not Frederick. They may go to Aberdeen. Usually, though, the next step is here. All you're doing in this league is developing players, okay? Any manager, it's never true. If you ask any minor league manager, they're going to say for sure, what are we doing? You are preparing players to play in the majors. That's 1,000% true in the minor leagues. You're going to prepare guys to play in the majors. That is precisely what you are doing at the major league level. At the major league level, you are preparing them to go ahead and play in the majors. Still, one thing I would say though, still light on pitching prospects even at this level. Okay, and that's a concern that we have. I saw the pitching roster and things like that. As far as hitting prospects, even at this level, at every level, the Orioles have you have a lot of good pitching prospects. At the Orioles, though, as far as the Orioles, though, as far as that goes, it's a little bit disheartening considering that the lack of, and we just talked about the silliness of uh, I'm not Peter Angelo, John Angelo, not willing to put money in the team, all the other issues that we have. It's a little bit disheartening not to see the pitching prospects available to the Orioles there. So we definitely would like to see that going forward. So it's good to go ahead and check this out as well. Go on the minor league, MIB.com, and it's like I don't think these games are televised. I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure if I've actually seen televised games, but definitely though, definitely check them out. Follow along with this team as they build at the very bottom of the team as well. Definitely, we'll go ahead and square that away and see if we can get this taken care of. One other thing, real quick, before we get to the Orioles. So, talk a little bit about sports media. So, we're going to go ahead and shake it out here. As now we're getting towards fall, especially sports media, a lot of them they only care about the football anyway. So, a lot of changes you see here. Oh, Undisputed is coming back. A lot of speculation about what was going to happen. Richard Sherman apparently is going to be on there. At least they're going to have a bit of a rotating cast. He's going to be on there mostly during the football season. And Rachel Nichols, formerly of ESPN and The Jump. I just heard that today is going to be. Looks like she's going to be the moderator now for Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Richard Sherman. There is talk of Keyshawn Johnson coming in. There's also talk of, I think, Michael Irvin. I mean, that was one of the people I kind of had in mind. Michael Irvin. Very interesting to see how that would go. Michael's energy and being a cowboy guy with Skip. Richard Sherman is that's going to blow the doors off. I love the fact that Richard Sherman doesn't care about anything. He's very Barkley like. He's like a smarter version of Barkley. He's a not Harvard, Stanford educated guy, and he's a very brash guy. He famously trash talked Bales a couple years ago when he was on First Take. I don't think Skip's scared to debate anybody. Good to see Rachel Nichols on her feet again. I think there was a lot of mess at ESPN that got her canned, and I think this would be a good opportunity for her to get some visibility. So good for her. All right, Orioles this week. Game last night, they lost to the Astros. So a rare blown save by the Mount. He gave up 4 runs. So even with that, he already only moved up, I think, to 1-6 or something like that. He gave up 4 runs. Look, Adley hit a home run. Gunnar. Look, these are the building blocks. These are the guys we want to see a long-term extension for Adley, Rushman, and Gunnar Henderson, because these guys are definitely the building blocks for your team going forward. I think Gunnar, I don't know if he gets Rookie of the Year. I think he's definitely in the running for it. Absolutely. This week, Jack Flaherty, I thought, is their best pitcher. I thought he was very, very good in the first game. I think this is a guy that's your game one starter as you go into the playoffs if you can hold on to the number 1 seed. Hopefully, we can hold on to that number 1 seed and already be not have to play in that first round. They could go ahead and play immediately in the division series and hopefully get to the league championship series and the World Series. So I think the Orioles have done well overall. They've gone ahead and they just swept the Mets. So Buck Showalter came back and they had nothing for him. I think the Mets are really scuffling. The Orioles, I think offense was just too much. I like the fact too, and again, I've liked it all year, all along with the Orioles offense, but getting it from different parts. Yeah, Gunnar is your main guy, and Adley's your main guy, but getting it from Ronald Hearn, Mountcastle's been hot lately. Getting it from different areas, getting it from who's another guy who's been doing well. Mountcastle, O'Hearn, Santander all year long. It's not one guy that you can go ahead and shut down. They seem to get it from different areas. Westberg with the homer the other night. Just outstanding stuff from that team. So definitely as they go along, this is a huge series. I think this is more. When I say huge, I think this is more when you're playing the Astros. As much as it is winning, more mental. I think to play with a team like this and show up and play well, I think you're the upstart team, so you really need to play well against a team as good as Houston. I don't think there's anything else left though. I think with 70 wins, you need about I don't know 20 more games to get in the playoffs. To get the see, you probably might need 95, 100 wins. I mean, you're going to get that. You're going to get that the way they played the rest of the year. So definitely shout out the Orioles. Definitely check it out here going forward. All right. So thank you very, very much for watching the Raver Sports podcast. Thank you for your patience with everything. Hopefully we can get out the Raver Sports so we can get it going. Here we definitely are going to get it going here for you. So unfortunately, I apologize if we had to delay it, but we will get out there and meet with all of you. Thank you very much for watching the rest of this week. You have an outstanding rest of your day.